The problem is not in my practicing polygamy. It's the problem in your culture who thinks itself superior than other culture. Of course, we cannot say so for our guests in the World Cup, the problem with your culture. But how can we talk about polygyny? Actually, this is a big no in the West. Recently, I received 11 people from the Australian government who discussed this with us. And alhamdulillah, within 3 minutes, I asked them this question. Who of you still thinks that polygyny should not be banned in Australia? They all did not raise their hands. They were convinced. Actually, here it is polygyny, not polygamy. Polygamy is of two types. Polyandry, which is having multiple husbands. This is not allowed. And polygyny, which is having multiple wives, which is allowed. When there is something completely rejected and unacceptable by Westerners, you cannot use logic in it. Logic will not work. So try all the logical ways. With them, it will not work. You have to use emotional inference. You have to use something like a story. So I told them, let me tell you a personal story. A personal experience that happened to us in our family. I have an aunt who lived a 39 years love story with her husband. But she was never able to have children. So 8 years ago, she said, I want to see the dream coming true. So she went and she married her husband to another woman who never got married before. God knows why, less fortunate. And she bought them an apartment in the same building with her. The new wife got pregnant and she gave birth, and the first child was a female. So the new wife called her child Hanan after my aunt's name. The man goes to work today, and the two women take breakfast together every day with 3 children playing around them. And I told them, if there are people who would accept such solutions for their problems, who are you to prohibit it? Islam, as I said, is like water. Transparent, no color, no smell, tastes good because neither salt, neither salty, neither sweet. So it's suitable for all people. And people are different, have different cultures. In some cultures, this is acceptable. Islam is saying, okay, but it's restricted to the number 4, not more than this. Restricted to the practice of practicing justice. You should be extremely just with them. Okay? Islam did not leave it open like that. You have to be just, you have to be fair to all of them. But in some societies, it's acceptable. Some other societies, no problem. By the way, according to Islam, and Egypt is, by the way, one of the first Islamic countries. In Egypt, we have a law, and it is a Sharia law, by the way, that the man cannot marry in secret. His first wife should be informed, legally. And it is her choice to continue or to ask divorce. So no one will be forced to do anything against his will. If a man wants to remarry, he can. If a woman wants to quit, she can. No one will be forced to do something against his will. No one. Okay? So in some cultures, this is easy to practice. And you don't need to continue more than that. This is very important. According to the Sharia of Allah, as we said, Islam is the religion of all the prophets. There were marriage to sisters was allowed. If you go to, I don't know which this is in the Bible, in a book that shows that Jacob said to Laban, give me my wife, my time is completed and I want to lie with her. Laban brought together all people of the place and gave a feast, but anyway, this shows that Jacob was married to 4 women. Among them is 2 sisters. So it came time, by the way, when a man can marry his sister. That was the sons of Adam. But he cannot marry his twin. And then the Sharia changed. So a man cannot marry his sister, but he can marry 2 sisters. And then the Sharia changed. And then a man was able to marry his aunt. By the way, Moses and Aaron are the cousins of their father. Their father married his aunt, and she brought him Moses and Aaron. And then the Sharia changed. Okay? Because this is the graduation of Sharia. Okay? Moses prohibited marriage to sisters. Do not take your wife's sister as a rival wife and have a sexual relations with her while your wife is living, in Leviticus. And then marriage to aunts. Amram married his father's sister, Jochebed, who bore him Aaron and Moses. Amram lived 137 years in Exodus. And then the final guide came according to Jesus, that but when he, the Spirit of truth, as-Sadiq al-Amin, okay, comes, he will guide you into all truth, the final Sharia. He will not speak on his own. He will speak only what he hears, and he will tell you what is yet to come. He will bring glory to me. Here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in Surah An-Nisa, who are the women that we can marry and who not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and marry not woman whom your fathers married, except what has already passed. This is surely an indecent and hateful, and it is forbidden to you, your mothers, your daughters, your sisters, your paternal aunts, your maternal aunts, and brothers, daughters, and sisters, daughters, and your mothers that have suckled you. Okay? Your foster sisters and your mothers of your wives and your stepdaughters who are in guardianship. This is what Jesus said, that someone will come and finalize the Sharia for you. Okay? But if you have not gone into them, there is no blame on you in marrying them. And the wives of your sons who are of your own loins, and that you should have 2 sisters together, except what has already passed. Surely Allah is forgiving, merciful. Okay. And there is limitation for 4 wives, as we said. And there are facts about polygyny. Number 1, polygyny is not an obligation in Islam. A man can stay married to 1 wife only. Rarely when it's practiced, by the way. Most Muslim men are not married to more than 1 wife. Okay? Needed in some cases, like the case that I said. It's a restricted practice. It's restricted. You have to be extremely fair. You have to be able financially and physically and everything. Allowed in the Bible. The Bible is not forbidding it. Here, in the book of Exodus 21:10, it says, if he marries another woman, he must not deprive the first one of her food, clothing, and marital rights. So it's allowed in the Bible then. Okay? It was practiced by early Christians and Jews. It is still practiced by some Christians. Like who? The Mormons. Christians will say, excuse me, Mormons are not Christians. Tell them you don't have the right to say that they are not Christians. They call themselves Christians, and they are called the Church of God. You don't have the right to say that they are not Christians. You're takfiri. Huh? They say don't be takfiri, then don't be takfiri too. Okay? Number 1, talking logic a little bit. Women outnumber men, by the way. This is known in the Encyclopedia Britannica, that in the United States of America, men are 10% less than women. In Russia, 20% less than women. UK, 10% less. Brazil, 5% less than women. Add to this that homosexuality is more common among men than it is among women. This leads to the fact that there are more females competing for a diminishing number of males. The more time passes, the less males there are. I believe that there will be no males after some time. We will be in museums. Huh?
Iraq and Afghanistan are reducing the number of the males.
The what?
Iraq and Afghanistan are reducing the number of males.
Yes, and wars too. Actually, this is very clear here in Russia. Why Russia is a very significant, significantly less, 20% less, is because Russia lost 25 million men in World War II and World War I. Yeah. If a man marries one woman, it's not a privilege for women, by the way. It's against women. Believe me, polygamy is not a problem between men and women. It's a problem between women and women. Women who are married and women who are unmarried, but they are ready to share husbands with others. This is the problem between them, not between men. By the way, for a man, if a man marries, okay, he is having more responsibility, extra financial responsibility, extra social responsibility, okay? But if a man is unmarried except to one wife, then there are others who are not able to marry, because actually every single adult man, not every single adult man is ready to marry because of the financial responsibilities. Maybe 10%, maybe 20%. But every single adult woman is ready for marriage, waiting for the groom to come and take her with her suitcase. Who will marry them then? Besides that, I asked this Australian delegation, so are you telling me that unfaithfulness is not allowed according to the law in Australia? I said, what do you mean? I said, I mean that if a man is married and he had 100 girlfriends, is this not allowed according to the law? I said, no, it's legal. I said, legal? Legal to have 100 girlfriends for a married person? Is this legal? But it's not legal to have one more wife in the light, openly. Everybody knows about her, and the children will bear his name, and they will inherit if he dies. This is not legal, and it's legal to have 100 women, mistresses? I need an explanation. This makes no sense. This makes no sense. And here, Peggy Vaughan, she's an American researcher. She wrote a book called The Monogamy Myth. She said, who is a monogamous society? Are the West a monogamous society? She said 60 to 75% of the men in the West are having at least one mistress at the same time with their wives. At least one. Excuse me. So when they talk about Prophet Muhammad and his marriages, I tell them, hey, come on. Instead of learning from him how a good husband he was, look at his wives, how they talked very highly about him. If you don't learn from him, please don't mock him. Okay? Hey, here we're talking about his marriages. Again, the marriages of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They say, well, he married a lot of women, 12, 13 women. How come? Why? How can a prophet, and that's what they say about him sallallahu alaihi wasallam, be so lustful? Astaghfirullah. Here I don't like that some brothers and sisters try to make Prophet Muhammad seem like an angel. No, he was not an angel. He was a man. He had the inclinations of men, but he was moderate. He was not lustful. To prove this, number one, he was unmarried until the age of 25. He was known to be very chaste. No one ever said that he was chasing women or anything at all. He was very modest until the age of 25, unmarried. He got married from a lady, Khadija, who was 15 years older than him, which means until the age of 50, he was married to a woman in the age of 65. And then he stayed 3 years without marriage. And then he married an old lady in the same age of Lady Khadija, Lady Sauda. And then he married all the others. Okay? So this proves that he was not lustful. Astaghfirullah. But we have to understand each marriage in its context. Who is our model? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? The Arabs used to have a terrible tradition. The Arabs used to only prefer virgins. So if a woman is a widow or a divorcee, she's not having much chance. Unless she's extremely beautiful or extremely rich or something. maybe like Lady Khadija, but actually Lady Khadija also asked the hand of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Prophet Muhammad's marriages, all of them were to widows and divorcees except one version, Lady Aisha. This is a message to the Arabs. Change this. What's wrong with widows and divorcees? Well, most of the mothers of the believers were widows and divorcees. There's nothing wrong with them. This is one important thing that he was changing. Islam changes not only the aqidah, but also the wrong traditions and the wrong customs of people. Okay? You see Prophet Muhammad, when he got married to Lady Zainab bint Jahsh, his cousin, he was used actually to end a terrible tradition of the Arabs considering a foster child like a biological child. So we know that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ adopted a son. He is Zayd, and he called him Zayd ibn Muhammad, the son of Muhammad. And then when the ayah descended saying, "Ud'uhum li'abaihim," call them after their fathers, this is more just. So he returned back Zayd ibn Haritha, and he is not considered anymore a son of Prophet Muhammad. But Allah wanted to tell the Arabs that this is real. Allah wanted him to marry the ex-wife of his ex-adopted son. And that was, if you look at the ayah in the Qur'an, it's an embarrassment to Prophet Muhammad. He was trying to conceal this because maybe Allah brings about another decision or something, because he knew that she will one day be his wife. But he did not like that. But he cannot, of course, dislike something that Allah decrees. But the ayah tells him, every time they come to you, you reconcile between them and you tell him, keep your wife, don't divorce your wife. Okay? And you are concealing in your heart what Allah will reveal. Because the Prophet was waiting for anything out from this. He wanted a way out. It was an embarrassment a little bit. Lady Zainab, when she used to speak with